We're with Lucy Crehan, who has been looking at different countries and how they decide to teach. Now, Lucy, is it right that you went to 6 different countries?
That's right, yes.
And was there a big difference, or was there kind of one kind of common way in which each of the countries were educating their young people?
So I guess two different questions
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So how they're educating the young people and how they're teaching, I suppose, bizarrely, sound like the same question, but actually they're quite
Really
different.
different.
So they're definitely educating children in different ways. I mean, the way they structure their teacher training, what they do in the teacher training, whether they divide children into different classes at a young age or not, that was all quite different. And in terms of the teaching, absolutely there were differences, but actually there were more similarities than the stereotypes would suggest.
Okay.
So what a lot of people will assume, or both the stereotypes based on maybe what the media say, is that in East Asian countries like Singapore, Shanghai, there's this image of a teacher standing at the front of the classroom with a blackboard and a piece of chalk,
Yeah.
and just lecturing while the students all like write down.
Yeah.
And the stereotype of Finland is the children are all sitting on the floor in circles
Yeah.
with crayons, doing their own projects, and those are the stereotypes. The truth is that actually there were some similarities in terms of teaching style. So there was quite. I mean, obviously this is a generalisation in itself. There are differences within each country as well, but in the main, it was whole class teaching, but where you had a teacher who was, maybe initially either starting with a problem for the students to solve, or teaching a particular concept, and then having a lot of interaction with the class. So a lot of talking with the whole class, building on each other's answers, or in little pairs before sharing with the whole class. A lot of students coming up to the front and sharing their ideas on the board, and the teacher commenting on that. So yeah, more in common than you might think.
Yeah. I know that you were a teacher here in the UK for a while. How do you think the UK's education system kind of holds up to other education systems? Do you think that other countries have probably got it more right than the British education system has?
Well, I deliberately went to look at systems that are doing very well in international tests.
Okay.
So by its very nature, yes, these countries are doing better in one sense, in terms of managing to get children to do very well in the reading, maths and science and application of those things at age 15. There's obviously a lot more to education than that. I suppose in terms of English system, I haven't been round to schools in the same way that I have elsewhere.
Yeah.
But my impression would be that there's a lot of really fantastic stuff going on in lots of individual schools and some school chains actually around the country. But what we are not doing well is making that work across the board,
Yeah.
and sharing that best practice. And I don't think that we are particularly good from a politics perspective either. I think sometimes some of the policies are not very helpful. There's been a lot of political intervention and a lot of changes in the past few years, which has led to some teachers feeling overworked.
Yeah, you were talking of overworked teachers. Something that's come up a lot during EdFest this year is teacher training, and how it's not strong enough in this country. Do other countries get it right in terms of teacher training, or is that an issue which is actually international, not just here in the UK?
Yes, I think they get it more right.
Yeah.
Yes. So what we've done, and this is one of the examples of where I don't think policy has gone the right direction, is we completely decentralised it so that any school can decide to train their own teachers, and there's less oversight of it. There are, the idea is let 1,000 flowers bloom, but actually it means that you're not maintaining quality. There's the kind of same high standards across the board. So you can become a teacher with very little training, training on the job officially, but it'll depend on the school, it'll depend on the university you're partnered with and how much they actually get in and assess you. The contrast is in Finland, for example. So they used to have teacher training at teacher training colleges, so the kind of equivalent of, not universities anyway. You do a 2-year training course straight out of school. And they then switched during the 1980s to raise the status of the profession. They said, right, actually, we're now only going to offer teacher training in the most prestigious universities, only these 8. And obviously in England it would have to be more than 8 because Finland is small.
Yeah.
But that went the opposite direction. It was saying, the government is not going to specify what's necessarily in these teacher training courses, but there will be fewer of them. There will be some kind of oversight. We'll make sure that it's really good. And that means that more people want to go into teaching, more people want to apply because it is prestigious and it's hard to get onto these courses compared to the situation where there are so many different routes in, and some of them are very high quality but some of them are not.
Yeah. Lucy, thank you so much for speaking to us.
No problem.